I woke up on Christmas morning to an empty house. Not just quiet, empty. The kind of empty that echoes when you walk through it, when every footstep reminds you that you're alone. I walked downstairs in my pajamas, expecting to smell coffee, to hear my mom fussing in the kitchen, to see wrapping paper scattered across the living room floor. Instead, I found nothing. Silence. Darkness. And my old suitcase, the one I hadn't touched in years, sitting untouched by the front door. My phone buzzed. I picked it up and saw the notification. A new group chat. Family love. I wasn't in it yesterday. I clicked on it and there it was. A selfie of my entire family at the airport. Mom, Dad, my older brother Jake, my younger sister Emma, and my youngest brother Tyler. All of them. Smiling. Arms around each other. The caption read "Resort time. Merry Christmas to us." The photo was displayed on our smart TV in the living room, rotating through a slideshow of their vacation photos that were being uploaded in real time. Palm trees, poolside cocktails, beach sunsets. And there I was, standing in my childhood home, staring at their happiness on a 70-inch screen. It was my birthday. Christmas Day has always been my birthday. I turned 23 that morning alone in a house that suddenly felt like a museum of my own foolishness. I didn't cry. I didn't call them. I didn't ask why. Instead, I walked into the kitchen, opened the fridge, and pulled out a small cake I'd bought for myself 2 days ago, knowing deep down that no one would remember. I stuck a single candle in it, lit it with a match, and sang happy birthday to myself in the empty kitchen. My voice cracked on the high note, but I finished the song. I made my wish. Then I blew out the candle and took a bite. The cake was chocolate. Store-bought. Nothing special. But it was mine. My phone rang. It was Uncle Robert, my dad's brother. I answered, chewing slowly. "Hey, sweetie, where are you?" His voice sounded strained, guilty. "I'm at home, Uncle Robert." "Why?" "Where's everyone?" I kept my voice light, innocent, as if I had no idea what was happening. He stammered. Started to explain something about a last-minute trip, a surprise, a miscommunication. But then I heard it. Clear as day. Emma's voice in the background, loud and careless. "Oh, that one. Whatever, Uncle Robert, leave her alone. She'd just ruin the vibe anyway. Let her stay home where it's quiet." The laughter that followed was worse than the words. I looked down at the half-eaten cake in my hand. The chocolate frosting was smeared across my fingers. I squeezed the slice until it crumbled, dark crumbs falling onto the white kitchen tiles like ashes. Something inside me didn't break. It crystallized. Hardened. Became something sharp and unbreakable. "Uncle Robert," I said calmly, "tell them I hope they have a wonderful time. I really do." I hung up before he could respond. But before I tell you what happened next, before I walk you through every satisfying moment of what I'm about to share, I need you to do something for me. If you've ever felt invisible in your own family, if you've ever been the one who gave everything and got nothing in return, hit that like button right now. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. And comment below telling me, have you ever been the family scapegoat? Because what I'm about to tell you might just change the way you see loyalty forever. Now let me take you back. Let me tell you how I got here. How a 23-year-old woman ended up spending Christmas morning alone eating grocery store cake while her entire family partied on a beach halfway across the country. It started 4 years ago, right after I graduated college. I had a decent job lined up, nothing fancy but stable. Marketing coordinator at a mid-sized firm downtown. $38,000 a year starting salary with benefits and the promise of growth. I was so proud of myself. First person in my family to finish college without dropping out. I'd worked 2 jobs throughout school, graduated with honors, and I had a real career ahead of me. I'd found a little apartment in the city. Studio 5th floor walk-up, but it had exposed brick and big windows that let in morning light. I'd already bought sheets and dishes from Target. I had it all planned out. Move-in date was August 15th. Start work August 22nd. But then Dad called me 3 days after graduation. Asked me to come home for a family meeting. I drove back to the house, that big colonial on Maple Street that my parents had bought when Dad got his promotion 15 years ago. It was a beautiful house. 4 bedrooms, finished basement, 2-car garage. The kind of house that said we made it. The kind of house I'd grown up thinking meant we were stable, secure, comfortable. I walked in, and everyone was already sitting in the living room. Mom on the couch, her eyes red. Dad standing by the fireplace, his jaw tight. Jake sprawled in the recliner looking at his phone. Emma perched on the arm of the couch, examining her nails. Tyler sitting cross-legged on the floor, his face worried. Dad cleared his throat. We need to talk about the house. That's when I learned the truth. The promotion Dad had gotten 15 years ago, he'd lost that job 12 years ago. He'd been bouncing between contract positions ever since, never telling anyone, keeping up appearances. The house payment he'd been making, mostly on credit cards and home equity loans. They'd refinanced 4 times. They were 3 months behind on the mortgage. The bank had sent a final notice. They had 60 days before foreclosure proceedings began. How much do you need? I asked, my stomach sinking. Dad looked at the floor. $9,000 to get current. But that's just to stop the foreclosure. We need about $1,500 a month just to keep up with everything. The mortgage is $3,200. I can cover about $1,700 from my work. Your mother's part-time at the library brings in $800. But that leaves us short every month on the mortgage alone, not even counting utilities and food. I did the math in my head. They needed at least $2,000 a month from me. Maybe more. My take-home after taxes was about $2,400. That would leave me with $400 for everything else. I couldn't afford my apartment. I couldn't afford to live on my own. What about Jake? I looked at my brother, 25 years old with a bachelor's degree in business that he'd barely finished 3 years ago. Jake's looking for work, Mom said quickly. It's tough out there. He's had some interviews. Jake didn't look up from his phone. Emma, I tried. I'm in school, Emma said, like it was obvious. I can't work full-time and keep my grades up. Besides, my scholarship barely covers tuition. You know how expensive books are. I wanted to point out that Emma's Instagram was full of pictures from parties, concerts, shopping halls. But I didn't, because I could see it in Mom's face. The desperation. The fear. The shame. What about Tyler? I asked. He's 17, Dad said. He needs to focus on school. We're not going to make him choose between homework and a job. So it came down to me, the one with the new job, the one who'd just graduated, the one who was supposed to be starting her own life. I'll help, I heard myself say. But I need to move back home. I can't afford my own place and help you guys. The relief on their faces was immediate, overwhelming. Mom actually cried. Dad hugged me, something he hadn't done since I was 12. Jake finally looked up from his phone and nodded. Emma smiled. Tyler looked relieved. I called my landlord that night and canceled my lease. Lost the deposit. Returned the Target sheet still in the package. Put the dishes in a box in the basement of my parents' house next to my college textbooks and the life I'd thought I was going to have. The first year wasn't terrible. I told myself it was temporary. I paid my share. I kept to myself. I worked hard at my job, got good reviews, made friends with my coworkers. I saved what little I could. Jake supposedly had interviews every week, but nothing ever panned out. Emma came home on weekends with shopping bags and stories about her sorority. Tyler actually did focus on school and got accepted to a decent state university. But somewhere in that first year, the dynamic shifted. It was small things at first. Mom stopped buying groceries, assuming I'd pick things up on my way home from work. Dad stopped worrying about the electric bill because he knew I'd paid it. Jake started ordering takeout on my credit card without asking, just assuming I wouldn't mind. Emma started treating the house like a hotel when she visited, leaving messes for me to clean up. I became the default everything. The one who fixed the leaky faucet because Dad was too tired. The one who scheduled Mom's doctor appointments because she didn't like making phone calls. The one who drove Tyler to basketball practice because it's on your way home from work anyway. The one who stayed up until midnight helping Emma write her essays because you're so good at this stuff. I started keeping a spreadsheet in my second year home. Not because I wanted to throw it in their faces, but because I needed to see it myself. Needed proof that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't imagining the weight of it all. Mortgage payment, 40% of my income. I'd gotten a raise, so I was taking on more. Utilities, another 15%. Groceries, 10%. Internet and cable, 5%. My car payment and insurance, 20%. That left me with 10% for everything else. Clothes, toiletries, gas, any kind of social life savings. 10%. I was drowning slowly, so slowly I didn't notice until I was already under. The breaking point should have come in year 3. Emma graduated college and moved back home. Not to help, to figure things out. She got a job at a boutique part-time, 20 hours a week at $12 an hour. She made about $1,000 a month and spent $1,500. The difference came from me. Jake was still in the basement, still networking, still building his brand. His Twitch channel had 47 followers. His YouTube had maybe 200 subscribers. He made approximately $30 a month from ad revenue and spent $300 on gaming equipment, energy drinks, and DoorDash. Tyler had gone off to college, but he came home for summers and breaks. He was the only one who seemed to notice what was happening. He'd help with dishes without being asked. He'd offer to pay for pizza when we ordered. He'd thank me for things. Small things, but they mattered. But Tyler wasn't there most of the year. And when he was gone, I was alone with them. It was in year 3 that I started noticing other things. Things I'd been too busy, too tired to see before. Mom had a new purse. Designer. The kind that cost $800. Dad had upgraded his phone to the latest iPhone. Jake had a new gaming chair, one of those fancy ones that cost $400. Emma's closet was bursting with clothes that still had tags on them. They had money. They just didn't have money for bills. Because I was paying the bills. So their money was fun money. Discretionary. Mine. I tried to talk to Dad about it once. Carefully. Gently. Over coffee on a Saturday morning when everyone else was still asleep. Hey Dad, I've been thinking. Now that Emma's working and Jake's been home for a while, maybe we could redistribute the bills a little. I'm covering a lot, and I'd really like to start saving for my own place eventually. He looked at me over his newspaper. You're living here too, aren't you? Eating the food, using the electricity, sleeping under this roof. It's only fair you contribute. I know, but I'm contributing 70% of my income. They're contributing nothing. Jake doesn't have a real job yet. Emma's barely making anything. What do you want me to do? Throw them out on the street? No, I just think maybe they could contribute something. Even $100 each would help. He folded his newspaper slowly. You know what I think? I think you're being selfish. We raised you. We fed you, clothed you, put you through school. Now when your family needs you, you want to count pennies. That's not how family works. I didn't bring it up again. In year 4, things got worse. Dad got laid off from his contract position. He was home all day, every day, watching TV, drinking beer, complaining about the state of the job market. He didn't look for work. Not really. He'd apply to a few positions online every week, but he turned down anything that wasn't exactly what he wanted. Not enough pay, too far a commute beneath his experience level. Mom cut back her hours at the library to part-time, then to just 2 days a week. She said she needed to take care of the house. What she actually did was watch HGTV and online shop. I started intercepting packages before they came inside, returning things to Amazon before she could open them just to keep her from spending money we didn't have. I picked up a freelance side gig. Social media consulting for small businesses. It brought in an extra $1,000 a month, sometimes more. I thought maybe I could finally start saving. But then the water heater broke. $1,800 to replace. Then Dad's car needed new brakes and tires. $1,200. Then Emma's student loans came due and she just couldn't afford the payments right now. Every dollar I made got swallowed by the house, by the family, by the endless needs that I was supposed to meet because I was the responsible one. I stopped seeing my college friends. They'd invite me out for drinks, for brunch, for weekend trips. I'd make excuses. Too busy, too tired, too broke. Eventually they stopped inviting me. I couldn't blame them. I'd become boring. Predictable. The friend who was always working, always stressed, always unavailable. I stopped dating. Who wanted to date someone who lived with their parents at 23 and had no money for dinner and a movie. I went on a few dates that first year home, but explaining my situation always led to confusion or pity. So you're paying for your entire family, why? And I didn't have a good answer. My coworkers would talk about their apartments, their vacations, their savings accounts. I'd smile and nod and say nothing about the fact that I was living paycheck to paycheck while making $48,000 a year. I was disappearing. Not all at once. Just a little bit every day. A little less of me, a little more of what they needed me to be. And they didn't notice. Or maybe they did and they just didn't care. The vacation thing started in October. I overheard Emma on the phone with Mom talking about maybe doing something big for Christmas this year. I didn't think much of it. We usually just did dinner at home, opened presents, watched movies. Nothing fancy. But then I noticed Jake looking at resort websites on his laptop. Dad mentioned something about frequent flyer miles. Emma started posting countdowns on her Instagram story. 60 days until paradise. 45 days until vitamin C. 30 days until we're beach-bound. I assumed I was included. Why wouldn't I be? I lived there. I was part of the family. Even if I was the part that paid for everything, I was still part of it. 2 weeks before Christmas, I casually asked Mom what the plan was for the holiday. "Oh, just the usual," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Probably do a nice dinner, maybe watch some movies." "Sounds good," I said. "Should I pick up anything special from the store?" "No, we're fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it." That should have been my first clue. On December 20th, I noticed suitcases in the hallway. Not just one or two. 5 of them. Big ones. Going somewhere, I asked Jake as he carried another bag downstairs. "Just a thing," he said vaguely. "Don't worry about it." There was that phrase again. Don't worry about it. On December 22nd, I came home from work to find everyone clustered in the kitchen whispering. They stopped when I walked in. "What's going on?" I asked. "Nothing," Emma said quickly. Too quickly. "Just planning stuff," Mom added. Tyler looked at me. Really looked at me. His expression was something between guilt and sympathy. But he didn't say anything. That night I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. Off. I pulled up our shared calendar, the one Mom had insisted we all use to stay coordinated as a family. It was empty for Christmas week. Nothing scheduled. But there had been something there last time I checked. I was sure of it. I opened my laptop and checked the trash folder for the calendar. And there it was. A deleted event. Family vacation, Mexico, deck 23 to 30. I stared at the screen for a long time, watched the cursor blink, tried to make sense of it. They were going on vacation. Without me. And they deleted the calendar event so I wouldn't know. I should have confronted them right then. Should have walked downstairs and demanded an explanation. But I didn't. Because some part of me wanted to see how far they'd go. Some part of me needed to know for sure. So I pretended I knew nothing. Went to work on the 23rd like it was a normal day. Stayed late working on a campaign deadline that wasn't due until January. Got home around 11. The house was quiet. Dark. Everyone's doors were closed. I went to my room, got in bed, and set my alarm for 8 in the morning. Later than I usually woke up, but early enough. When the alarm went off on Christmas morning, I already knew what I'd find. But knowing didn't make it hurt less. I walked through the empty house like a ghost. Their bedroom doors were open, beds hastily made. The basement door was ajar, Jake's gaming setup, still glowing but his chair empty. I found the note eventually stuck to the fridge with a magnet. Went to get some last-minute things. Be back soon. Love, Mom. It was dated December 22nd. Yesterday. It was a lie they'd left behind to give themselves cover to pretend they'd just stepped out to maintain the illusion of caring. But then my phone buzzed and the illusion shattered completely. I stood in that empty house for a long time after Uncle Robert's call. After Emma's voice in the background. After the laughter. I stood there and felt something shift inside me. Not break. Breaking implied destruction. This was construction. I was building something new out of something that had already been dead. I'd just been too loyal to notice the decay. I set the cake down, washed my hands, and walked upstairs to my room. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall or throw something. I just opened my laptop and looked at the spreadsheet I'd been keeping for years. 4 years. $147,832. That's what I'd paid to keep this family afloat. 1,741 days of waking up in a house where I was invisible until someone needed something. I opened a new document and started making a list. Not just the things I'd bought for myself, but everything. Every single item in this house that existed because of my money, my time, my labor. The refrigerator. I'd bought that 2 years ago when the old one finally died. Mom had wanted a fancy one with the screen on the front. I'd gotten a good one, stainless steel, energy efficient, but not the ridiculous one she wanted. $2,000. The microwave. Mine. The coffee maker. Mine. The toaster oven, the blender, the instant pot that Mom used every other day. All mine. The living room couch. I'd bought that when the old one became unbearable springs poking through fabric stained beyond recognition. $1,500 from a Labor Day sale. The smart TV they were using to display their vacation photos. Mine. 60-inch 4 Kelvins I'd saved for 3 months to afford it. $800. The laptop Jake was using to stream his pathetic gaming content. Mine. I'd bought it for myself for work, but he'd borrowed it 2 years ago and never gave it back. $1,300. The Wi-Fi router. Mine. The mesh network extenders that made sure Jake's basement streams never lagged. Mine. The Nest thermostat that Dad loved to control from his phone. Mine. The Ring doorbell that made Mom feel safe. Mine. The smart lights in every room. Mine. The throw pillows on the couch, the art prints on the walls, the bookshelf in the hallway, the coat rack by the door, the shoe organizer in the entryway, the umbrella stand, the hall runner, the mirror above the console table. Mine. 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 I'd furnished this house. I'd maintained this house. I'd kept this house running, and they'd left me in it on Christmas morning like a piece of furniture they didn't need to pack. I started with my bedroom. Everything I owned, everything I'd kept separate and safe went into boxes. My clothes, my books, my laptop, my toiletries, my jewelry, my photos. I packed like I was defusing a bomb. Carefully. Methodically. Nothing forgotten. Then I moved to the rest of the house. I took pictures of everything, first receipts pulled up on my phone next to each item proof of purchase. Then I started unplugging, unscrewing, dismantling. The fridge was too heavy to move myself, but I'd already called the moving company. They'd be here at 2. They could handle it. I took the microwave from the counter, the coffee maker, the toaster oven, the blender, the Instant Pot, the knife set, the dish towels, the pot holders, the cutting boards. I left the dishes because most of those had been here before me, but I took my nice dinner set, the one I'd bought myself as a 21st birthday present, the one Emma always used for Instagram photos and never washed. I took my throw pillows. My art. My books from the bookshelf. I left ugly holes on the walls where my prints had hung darker squares on the paint that hadn't faded like the rest. I took the coat rack, the shoe organizer, the umbrella stand. I took the nice hangers from the coat closet, leaving the wire ones from the dry cleaners. I went through the bathroom and took every single thing I'd bought. The nice towels, the bath mat, the shower curtain, the toilet brush, the plunger, the cleaning supplies under the sink. I left them with one roll of toilet paper and a half-empty bottle of generic shampoo. I took the vacuum cleaner. The mop, the broom, the dustpan. They could sweep with their hands for all I cared. In the living room, I systematically disconnected everything. The TV came off the wall. The soundbar. The streaming devices. The gaming console. Wait, no. That was Jake's. I left it. Let him have his PlayStation. It would be useless without the TV, but he could figure that out. I took the lamp from the side table. The lamp from the corner. The decorative bowl on the coffee table. The coffee table books I'd curated. The throw blankets. The thermostat took 5 minutes to reset to factory settings and disconnect from my account. The Ring doorbell took 3. The smart lights required me to go through every room, resetting each one individually. I took my time. I was thorough. The mesh network. Disconnected. The router. Packed. The modem was technically the cable company's, so I left it, but I called and had the service transferred to my name, only with a new password they'd never guess. Then I downgraded the plan to the absolute basic internet. If Jake wanted to stream, he could pay for better speeds himself. I found Jake's fancy gaming chair in the basement. The one I'd bought him last Christmas, back when I still thought gestures like that mattered. $400. I took a picture of the receipt, then I carried that chair up 2 flights of stairs and added it to the pile. I found Emma's vanity mirror with the ring light, the one I'd gotten her for her 21st birthday. $150. Unplugged it, packed it. I went through the linen closet and took every towel, every washcloth, every sheet set I'd purchased. I left them with the old threadbare ones, the ones Mom had been meaning to throw away for years. I took the surge protectors, the extension cords, the phone chargers, everything. By the time the moving truck pulled up at 2 in the afternoon, I had a mountain of belongings piled in the driveway. The movers looked confused. "This is all going," one of them asked. "Every bit of it," I said. It took 4 hours. 4 hours to load up 4 years of my life, 4 years of my money, 4 years of my effort. The house looked like it had been robbed. Except this wasn't theft. This was me taking back what was mine. I did a final walkthrough. The living room echoed. The kitchen looked barren. The bathrooms were stripped down to basics. The bedrooms looked fine, but only because I hadn't bought much for those. Those were their spaces. I'd never been invited to make them comfortable. I saved the note for last. I'd written it that morning between the cake and the phone call. I placed it on the kitchen counter right in the center, where they couldn't miss it. Welcome home. All bills, including the new Wi-Fi password, will be sent to Dad's email from now on. The account names have been changed. The passwords have been changed. If you need help accessing anything, I'm sure you'll figure it out. You're all very resourceful when you want to be. Merry Christmas. I didn't sign it. They'd know who it was from. I locked the door with the key that was still on my keychain. I'd already talked to the landlord, gotten my name removed from any liability. This was their house. Their problem. Their consequence. I drove to my new apartment, the one I'd secretly rented 2 weeks ago when I'd found that deleted calendar event. When I'd realized what they were going to do. When I'd started planning my own departure. It wasn't much. A one-bedroom in a building from the 70s with carpet that had seen better days and a kitchen the size of a closet. But it was mine. Every inch of it was mine. And when I walked in that evening, when I closed the door behind me and locked it, when I stood in my empty living room and looked out at the city lights twinkling in the distance, I felt something I hadn't felt in 4 years: peace. I spent Christmas evening unpacking boxes, arranging my furniture, making my space. I ordered Chinese food from the place down the street. I ate it sitting on my couch using my nice dishes in my own apartment with nobody asking me for anything. I didn't check my phone. I knew it would start soon. The calls, the texts, the panic. But that was for tomorrow. Tonight was mine. I fell asleep on my couch around midnight, the TV, playing some old movie I wasn't really watching, and I slept better than I had in years. They got home the next day around 4 in the afternoon. I know because that's when my phone started exploding. 40 calls in an hour. Texts coming in so fast I couldn't read them. Voicemails filling up my inbox. I watched it all from my couch, drinking tea, completely calm. I read the texts. They were a journey. Mom, 4:15 p.m. Honey, where is everything? Did something happen? Please call me. Dad, 4:20 p.m. What the hell is going on? Where is the TV? Call me now. Jake, 4:23 p.m. Yo, where's my chair? And the internet isn't working. What's the password? Emma, 4:32 p.m. Are you kidding me right now? You took my mirror. That's theft. I'm calling the police. Tyler, 4:45 p.m. Hey, I think I know what happened. Are you okay? Do you want to talk? Tyler was the only one I responded to. I'm fine. Better than fine. I'm free. The voicemails were even better. Dad threatening to call the police. Mom crying about how could I do this to them. Emma literally screaming. Jake sounding genuinely confused, like he couldn't understand how the internet had just stopped working. The best one was from Dad around 6 p.m. His voice was different. Not angry anymore. Calculated. Manipulative. Sweetheart, I think there's been a misunderstanding. We didn't mean to leave you out of the trip. It was supposed to be a surprise. We were going to tell you at the airport. We called, but you didn't answer. We thought maybe you'd decided to sleep in and would catch up with us. Come home and we'll talk about this. We can fix this. Family fixes things together. I deleted it without finishing it. The group chat was chaos. I'd unmuted it just to watch. Dad, everyone stop texting and call her. Mom, I can't reach her. It goes straight to voicemail. Emma, she blocked us. That psycho blocked her own family. Jake, can someone please tell me the Wi-Fi password? I have a stream in an hour. Emma, who cares about your stream, Jake? She took the microwave. I muted it again and went back to organizing my closet. The next day was Sunday. They showed up at my apartment. I don't know how they found it. Maybe Tyler told them. Maybe they hired someone. Maybe they just drove around until they spotted my car. I watched them from my window. All of them except Tyler. Huddled on the sidewalk looking up at the building, arguing about which apartment was mine. My phone rang. Mom. I didn't answer. Emma. Ignored. Dad. Ignored. Jake actually tried to video call me. I laughed and declined. Then my butzer rang. They'd gotten into the building somehow. Probably waited for someone to come out and caught the door. I didn't buzz them up. I just waited. The banging on my door started around 7 p.m. Loud enough that my neighbor poked her head out to look. Open this door right now, Dad's voice through the wood. We just want to talk, Mom pleading. You can't just steal from us, Emma shrill. I waited until they'd been out there for 10 minutes until I heard my neighbor on the phone with someone, probably the building manager. Then I opened the door. They looked terrible. Dad's face was red. Mom had clearly been crying. Emma looked furious. Jake looked uncomfortable, like he'd rather be anywhere else. Can I help you? I asked politely, like I didn't know them. Don't you dare, Dad started, but I held up my hand. You need to leave. This is my home. You're not welcome here. We need to talk about what you did, Mom said. What I did? I took my belongings. That's not a crime. You left us with nothing, Emma pushed forward. How are we supposed to live? The same way I was supposed to live, I imagine. You'll figure it out. This is ridiculous, Dad said. You're being childish. We're family. Family doesn't abandon each other on Christmas, I said quietly. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't take and take and take until there's nothing left. We never asked you to pay for everything, Jake said, speaking for the first time. I laughed. Actually laughed. You're right. You never asked. You just expected. You just took. You just assumed I'd always be there to catch you when you fell. Well, guess what? I'm done catching. If you don't return our things, we're calling the police, Dad threatened. Call them, I said. I have receipts for every single item I took. My name on the credit card statements. My name on the orders. Go ahead. Call them. Let's see what they say about theft. Mom's face crumpled. Why are you doing this to us? I'm not doing anything to you. I'm just not doing anything for you anymore. There's a difference. So that's it, Emma's voice was shaking, tears starting. You're just going to walk away. Just going to act like we don't exist. You acted like I didn't exist first, I said. The difference is you did it while I was still there. You forgot me while I was standing right in front of you. So yeah, Emma. That's it. I'm done. I started to close the door, but Dad put his foot in it. You're being selfish, he said. After everything we did for you. What did you do for me, Dad? Tell me. Specifically, what did you do for me in the last 4 years besides take my money and ignore my existence? He opened his mouth, closed it, looked away. That's what I thought. Now get out of my building before I call the police. I shut the door. They stayed in the hallway for another hour, taking turns, knocking, pleading, threatening. Eventually, building security came and escorted them out. I watched from my window as they walked back to Dad's car, still arguing with each other, blaming each other, but never, not once, taking responsibility themselves. The days after that were almost peaceful. The calls tapered off. The texts became less frequent. They realized I wasn't coming back, that I wasn't going to change my mind, that the foundation they'd built their comfortable lives on had walked away and wasn't coming back. I heard through Uncle Robert, who'd started calling me every few days to check in, that things were falling apart. The bank had started foreclosure proceedings again. They couldn't make the payments without me. The utilities were getting shut off because no one knew how to pay them, and I'd removed all the auto pay from my accounts. They'd had to buy a new microwave from Walmart, the cheapest one they could find. Jake's streams had become a joke because his internet kept buffering. Emma had to sell half her wardrobe to make rent on the new apartment they'd had to move into when the house was foreclosed. I didn't feel happy about it. But I didn't feel guilty either. I felt free. Then came the Tuesday after New Year's. I was at work, focused on a presentation I was giving that afternoon, when my phone rang. Reception. There are some people here to see you, the receptionist said, her voice uncertain. They say they're your family. My stomach dropped. Tell them I'm busy. They're causing a bit of a scene. Should I call security? I closed my eyes. Took a breath. I'll be right down. I took the elevator down my heels, clicking on the marble floor of the lobby. And there they were. All 4 of them. Mom, Dad, Jake, and Emma. In my office building. In my professional space. Making a scene in front of my colleagues. Mom was crying loudly. Dad was arguing with the security guard. Jake looked mortified. Emma was on her phone, probably recording this for sympathy on social media. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice level but cold. Mom rushed forward. Please, sweetie, please. We can't do this without you. I can't sleep. I can't eat. We're going to lose everything. You already lost everything, I said. You lost it when you left me behind. It was a mistake, Dad said. A stupid mistake. We thought you knew. We thought you'd catch up with us. Stop lying, I said quietly. You deleted the calendar event. You snuck out while I was at work. You left a fake note. You didn't think I knew. You hoped I wouldn't find out until you were already gone. You chose that vacation over me. You chose each other over me. Now live with that choice. We need you, Mom sobbed. No, I said. You need my money. You need someone to pay your bills and fix your problems. You never needed me. You never wanted me. You wanted a solution, a resource, an ATM. Well, I'm closed. Emma stepped forward. You're really going to let us suffer? Your own family. I looked at her. Really looked at her. 21 years old, and she'd never once had to face a consequence. Never once had to do something she didn't want to do. Never once had to sacrifice. Yes, I said simply. I am. You're heartless, she spat. No, I said. I'm just not yours to use anymore. I turned to the security guard. Please escort them out. If they come back, they're trespassing. I walked back to the elevator, my head high, and I didn't look back. I heard Mom's wails behind me. Dad's shouts. Emma's curses. Jake's silence. I got back to my desk, sat down, and finished my presentation. I delivered it an hour later to rave reviews. My boss pulled me aside afterward. I heard there was some commotion downstairs, she said carefully. Family drama, I said. It's handled. She nodded. Then she smiled. You've been doing exceptional work lately. Really exceptional. I'd like to talk to you about a promotion. I got a 15% raise and a new title. Senior Marketing Strategist. I celebrated that night with takeout sushi and a bottle of wine I didn't have to share with anyone. The weeks turned into months. Spring came. The trees bloomed. Life moved forward. Tyler reached out regularly. He'd moved in with a friend's family, finished his senior year of high school, got accepted to a good college on a partial scholarship. He'd gotten a job at a grocery store to cover what the scholarship didn't. He was figuring it out, without them, like I had. I'm proud of you, I told him once. I'm proud of you too, he said. You taught me something important, that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. The others I heard about through Uncle Robert. The house had been foreclosed and sold. They'd moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in the bad part of town. Dad had finally gotten a job, but it barely covered rent. Mom had to go back to work full-time. Jake had gotten a job at Best Buy, and his streaming dreams had died with the fast internet. Emma had dropped out of school and was working at the boutique full-time, hating every minute of it. They blamed me for all of it. Told everyone who would listen that I'd abandoned them, that I was selfish, that I was heartless. Some people believed them. Most people didn't once they heard the whole story. But I didn't care what people thought anymore. I'd spent 4 years caring. 4 years trying to prove I was good enough, trying to earn their love, trying to be the daughter and sister they needed. And it had nearly destroyed me. I wasn't going to spend another day seeking approval from people who'd already shown me I didn't matter to them. 6 months after I left, I ran into my cousin Michelle at a coffee shop downtown. She'd always been kind to me in that distant family way. She sat down across from me without asking, ordered a latte, and smiled. I heard about what happened, she said. I'm sure you did. What's the family saying? That you're selfish. That you abandoned everyone in their time of need. That you're cold and ungrateful. And what do you think? She stirred her coffee slowly. I think you were the only adult in that house for 4 years. I think they took advantage of your sense of responsibility and bled you dry. And I think walking away was the bravest thing you've ever done. I felt something in my chest loosen. Relief, maybe. Validation. Thank you. Most of us knew, she continued. We all knew what was happening. But it wasn't our place to say anything. It had to be your decision. And I'm glad you made it. How bad is it? Really? She sighed. Bad. Your dad finally realized he can't just wait for the perfect job. Your mom's working at Target. Jake's living with a roommate now, trying to make it on his own. Emma's miserable, but she's learning. Tyler's thriving, which says something. And they still blame me. Your parents do. Jake and Emma are starting to realize maybe it wasn't all your fault. Maybe they had some responsibility too. But your parents, they'll probably never admit they were wrong. I can live with that, I said. And I could. Because their approval wasn't the price of my peace anymore. We talked for another hour. She caught me up on family gossip. Who was getting married, who was having babies, who was getting divorced. Normal family stuff. Stuff I'd missed while I was too busy keeping everyone afloat. When we left, she hugged me. You look happy, she said. Really happy. I am, I said. And I meant it. Summer came. I got another promotion. I moved to a bigger apartment, a 2-bedroom in a nice building with a gym and a rooftop deck. I furnished it exactly how I wanted. No compromises. No one else's taste to consider. Just mine. I started dating. Nothing serious, just casual coffee dates and dinners. It was nice. Normal. I could split the check without mentally calculating if I'd have enough left for the electric bill. I could order what I wanted without worrying if it was too expensive. I made new friends. Joined a book club. Started going to yoga classes on Sunday mornings. Bought myself a nice bike and started riding on the trails by the river. I was building a life. My life. The one I should have had 4 years ago. And then on a Saturday in July, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It's Emma. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time. My first instinct was to delete it. To block the number. To maintain the boundary I'd worked so hard to establish. But something stopped me. Curiosity, maybe. Or maybe just the faint hope that something had changed. About what I sent back. I want to apologize. Really apologize. Can I buy you coffee? I almost said no. Almost. But then I thought about Tyler, about how he'd grown and changed and learned. And I wondered if maybe Emma could too. Okay, I sent. Monday at 3. I'll pick the place. I chose a coffee shop near my office. Public. Busy. Easy to leave if I needed to. Emma showed up 10 minutes late, which was actually early for her. She looked different. Thinner. Tired. Her hair wasn't the perfect waves from Instagram. Her clothes were nice but not designer. She looked like someone who'd had to grow up fast. She ordered a small coffee, nothing fancy, and sat down across from me. Thanks for meeting me, she said. You said you wanted to apologize. She nodded, wrapped her hands around her cup. I've been thinking a lot about what happened. About what I did. What we all did. And I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. We treated you terribly. I treated you terribly. And you didn't deserve any of it. I waited. Silence is a powerful tool. Let people feel it. Let them show you if they're really changed or just sorry they got caught. I didn't realize how much you were doing, she continued. Or I did realize, but I didn't let myself think about it. It was easier to just take what you gave and not ask questions. Easier to assume you were fine because you never complained. But you weren't fine. And we should have seen that. You should have, I agreed. She looked down. I know saying sorry doesn't fix anything. I know I can't undo 4 years of being a terrible sister. But I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what you did for us. And I see what we did to you. What changed, I asked. Having to do it myself, she said simply. Having to work full-time. Having to pay bills. Having to budget. Having to say no to things I want because I can't afford them. Having to be responsible. It's hard. Really hard. And you were doing it for all of us. Plus trying to have your own life. I don't know how you did it for 4 years. I barely did, I said. I know. I'm sorry. We sat in silence for a moment. Are you okay? I asked. I'm getting there. I dropped out of school. I'm working full-time at the boutique and doing online classes part-time. It'll take me longer to finish my degree, but I can't afford anything else. I moved into my own place. It's tiny, but it's mine. And I'm learning to take care of myself. Good, I said. And I meant it. Jake's doing better too. He got promoted to supervisor at Best Buy. He's talking about maybe going back to school. Dad finally got a decent job. Mom's adjusted to working. They're making it work. Barely. But they're making it. And they still blame me. She hesitated. Dad does. Mom's coming around. She cried to me last week, said she wished she'd appreciated you more when she had the chance. But she's too proud to say it to you. That's her choice. It is. Emma looked at me. I'm not asking you to forgive us. I'm not asking you to come back. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And that I'm trying to be better. Okay, I said. Okay. Okay, I hear you. I appreciate the apology. I hope you keep growing. Keep learning. Keep taking care of yourself. Can we maybe do this again sometime? Just coffee. No expectations. I thought about it. Maybe. Eventually. But I need time. I'm still healing from everything. And I need to protect that. Protect myself. I understand. She stood up. Thank you for meeting me. Really. She left and I sat there for a while finishing my coffee. I didn't know if Emma had really changed or if she was just going through a phase. I didn't know if we'd ever have a real relationship again. But it was a start, a small one. And if she kept growing, kept changing, maybe someday we could rebuild something. Not what we had, that was broken beyond repair, but maybe something new, something healthier, something equal. Or maybe not. And that was okay too. I didn't need them anymore. I'd learned to be whole without them, to be happy without their approval, to be enough all by myself. Fall came and brought with it crisp air and changing leaves. I celebrated my 24th birthday with friends from work at a nice restaurant with cake and presents and people who'd remembered without needing a reminder. It was perfect. Tyler came to visit during his fall break. We spent the weekend exploring the city, trying new restaurants, going to museums. He told me about school, about his classes, about the girl he was dating. He was happy. Thriving. "Have you talked to them?" he asked over dinner on Sunday night. Emma reached out. "We've had coffee a few times. She seems like she's growing up." "She is. She talks about you sometimes. About what you did. She tells people she's trying to be more like you." I didn't know how to feel about that. "What about you?" he asked. "Are you happy?" I looked around my life. At my nice apartment with its view of the city. At my successful career that I'd built on my own merit. At my friends who valued me. At my freedom to make choices that served me, not someone else. "Yeah," I said. "I really am." Winter came again. The first anniversary of the worst and best Christmas of my life. I thought about marking it somehow, but decided against it. It wasn't a celebration or a mourning. It was just a day. The day I chose myself. And that was enough. I was sitting on my balcony on Christmas morning, wrapped in a blanket, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise when my phone buzzed. A text from a number I hadn't seen in a year. "Mom, Merry Christmas, honey. I hope you're well. I'm sorry for everything. I love you." I read it 3 times. Looked for the manipulation. The guilt trip. The request for money or forgiveness or my return. But it wasn't there. It was just an apology. Simple. Quiet. Probably too little too late. But it was something. I didn't respond. Not right away. Maybe not ever. Because I'd learned something important this year. Forgiveness wasn't something I owed anyone. It was something I gave when I was ready, if I was ever ready. And right now I wasn't. Right now I was just focused on being happy. On building my life. On being whole. And I was. Finally. Completely. Whole. I thought about that morning a year ago. Standing in that empty house. Eating that cake. Feeling invisible and forgotten and used up. I thought about the girl who'd stood there, who'd made the decision to walk away from everything she'd known because staying was killing her slowly. I was proud of her. That girl who'd been brave enough to choose herself. Who'd been strong enough to walk away. Who'd been smart enough to know that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people face the consequences of their choices. She'd saved my life. My real life. The one I was living now. So here's my question for you. Have you ever been the one holding everything together, the one everyone takes from but no one gives to? Have you ever had to walk away from people you loved because staying was killing you? And if you haven't yet, if you're still standing in that kitchen, still squeezing that cake, still wondering if you're strong enough to leave, let me tell you something. You are. You absolutely are. The foundation doesn't need the house. Remember that. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever felt like you were giving everything and getting nothing, hit that like button. Subscribe for more real stories about finding yourself after losing everything. And drop a comment telling me your story. When did you realize you were the foundation, not the house? I want to hear from you. Because we're not alone in this. None of us are.